What I love about a great Chardonnay, like this one from Niagara-on-the-Lake, is that it is full of flavor. Flavor that's picked up from the oak, has great texture and taste, and a little freshness to it. And I know it's going to go really, really well with this particular dish, a roast butternut squash with a little goat cheese, rosemary, and bay leaf. What I find is the oakiness is able to stand up to the richness of the soup. A little hint of rosemary in the background just makes it sing. And the creaminess of the soup just adds to that very smooth mouthfeel. And I know the Chardonnay would go really well with almost any kind of fish. A little cream sauce, a little butter sauce, or some pork or poultry with wonderful stone fruit from the Niagara region. What grows together, goes together. How important is a glass of wine with a great meal? Well, as a chef and a food lover, to me it is very, very important. And if you think about it, food and wine has been going together for centuries. And when it comes to choosing a great wine to go with a delicious meal, choosing a wine from Niagara-on-the-Lake could be a perfect fit. You can find wines that have wonderful, robust flavors, a balance of acidity, deep complexity from older vines. There's such great choice out there that I guarantee you can find a wine from Niagara-on-the-Lake to suit just about any meal. I certainly know I can.
So the whole world now is looking for cooler sites, sites that give you proper balance of ripeness. So sugar ripeness with your acid dropping a little bit, and phenolic ripeness or physiological ripeness. Now, if we talk specifically about Niagara-on-the-Lake, you have all of that. You retain that vibrancy. I hesitate to call it acid, but that's what it is. It's acid retention that gives you vibrancy in a wine. So you get to have that, except we get that little extension. We get that little bit more warmth. So we get that little bit more ripeness, and we get that little bit more character. So it opens the door for a couple of things. It opens the door for a bit more flexibility, both in how ripe you harvest your grapes, but also in which grapes you're growing. Right? So we have a wide range of grapes growing in Niagara-on-the-Lake. What's the most exciting? I don't know. I get super excited about Riesling, right? But I'm super excited about Riesling in general. But I find you get that extra honeyed and that extra ripeness. And I think more complexity, quite honestly, right? The same as the best Alsatian Rieslings have. Well, the best Niagara-on-the-Lake Rieslings have. So the wines from Niagara-on-the-Lake, they get that vibrancy. They get that cool climate drinkability that I love in all wines. You know, I find there's some confusion about this term terroir, and I guess it's sensible that there's confusion because it's not an English word. We need an English word. The best attempt was somewhereness. I think that still stands as the best attempt to translate it. But what is it? Well, people think, oh, terroir, it's the soil, it's what's under our feet. That's a piece of terroir, that's a part of terroir, but you know what, that's in no way is that the whole picture. Terroir is much more that giant body of water behind us, right? That has a lake effect on these vineyards. It stunts the early ripening, stunts the start of your season, but then it extends your final ripening stage well past what you would get in, well, the rest of Canada for sure, most of the rest of the world. with some exceptions. But that's terroir. That's the exciting thing about wine growing in this area or in that area in different appellations. When you get such a profound effect that just changes how the grapes ripen, well, that's terroir. And what do you get in your glass? Something that tastes totally different. Well, that's terroir. So speaking of the lake effect, so Lake Ontario is a massive, deep body of water. It moderates everything and gives you a little bit of more warmth to the end of the season. So you get to have more ripeness. Why is this important? Well, I'll tell you that because ripeness isn't just how sweet are your grapes. It's also how much has your acid dropped. But it's not just that, it's also how much flavor is built up in your grapes. What is the physiological ripeness, or a term we use a lot is, what's the phenolic ripeness of these grapes? So if you get to extend your hang time, or the time that you're leaving your grapes on the vine, you get more of a chance to develop that flavor ripeness, that physiological ripeness. And you're not just getting sweet fruit, you're getting fruit that's sweet, has the right amount of acid, and still has, or now has, much more flavor. And you know what? Your Pinot Noir tastes like Pinot Noir. Your Gewürztraminer tastes like Gewürztraminer. Your Chardonnay tastes like Chardonnay. So you see it here in a bunch like this. How do we tell when we're at physiological ripeness? Well, a lot of times we call it stem and seed ripeness. So this bunch actually looks pretty ripe, and if you eat it, it's quite sweet. Wow, it's pretty ripe. Like, you could do a lot with this. Maybe it's going to hang a little bit more. Maybe they're going to make more of a late harvest style wine. Maybe they want more phenolic development, but you have that freedom because of the lake, right? That terroir of this vineyard, because they're so moderated, because you have warmth that takes you farther into the season than it normally would, you have an opportunity to get full phenolic ripeness. That's what everyone dreams of. There's something exciting happening here in Niagara on the Lake. There's a great tradition of wine growing. What does that mean? Because we're always looking at what's new and what's exciting in wine. So how much do we care about the past? Well, we do care about the past because we're looking for old vine material. Is old vine material important, or is it just a marketing catchphrase? I think it is very important because there's a certain depth of flavor that comes from older vines that you just can't replicate. So if you have old vine material, you have a chance to make a wine that goes past beyond just surface delicious and moves to surface delicious, and then underneath that there's more and more and more and more. A wine that slowly unfolds in the glass and shows you more with every sip. You really can only get that from a vine that has some age on it, right? Can we say we have old vine like they have in Barossa? Well, of course not. But then the vines in Barossa, some of them are beyond peak performance. We have some vines here that are 30 and 40 years old. And to me, depending on the variety, that's when a plant really starts to hit its stride for making intense fruit that gives you that incredible depth of flavor in the finished product.